Long.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the collective. Sorry we're late. We were chit-chatting in the green room ahead of time.
Seb.
But I cut you off, Corey. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna ask how we share this. I saw your mention on Instagram. I'm not sure how we share this link live. Just out of curiosity.
I usually put it in the story. I just hadn't quite got there yet beforehand. So I will do. I'll let you guys chat because I still got to find Tim. So let's.
And I'm just about to follow Alan Shabiro.
I don't coffee. I'll be right back, and I'll grab my phone so I can share that.
Okay,
I'm now following.
There we go. So, for those who don't know who Alan Shabiro is, who's Alan Shabiro?
Yeah, so Alan Shabiro was, for those of you who are familiar with Nick Lavery, the Green Beret that's lost a leg, and the notorious Green Beret that's lost a leg and went back to combat, to active duty. Mm-hmm. Alan Shabiro was one of the mentors, really, of Nick, and he was one of the reasons why Nick developed in the combatives realm the way he has. And Alan is a savage, in a good way in the jiu-jitsu world. I believe he's a black belt in judo as well as a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a high-level competitor that competes in. I'm trying to remember. A couple of the organizations where he does, and Shaun, if you're scrolling through his page.
Yeah, I'm just looking at under his name, it's got at Combat Base TX, Origin USA, We Defy Foundation, Reorg Charity.
Roger that. So he is a black belt under Chris Werter, who's one of the original 12 and one of the forefathers of the jiu-jitsu community in the U.S. and the first generation Westerners really being taken sort of under the umbrella of the Gracie family, and that was. I can't remember exactly if it was Orion or who it was that they actually lined up under initially, but yeah, the 12, essentially first North American to be jiu-jitsu trained and jiu-jitsu black belt eventually, and some of the most legendary grapplers in the jiu-jitsu world. And I'm not specifically talking about the competitive world here. I'm talking about jiu-jitsu in relation to combatives and self-defense piece. So Green Beret, retired many years, I believe. I could be wrong. A third special forces group, I think. I might be wrong, so don't quote me on this. But just an overall beast of a man.
Yeah, and I want to apologize to Alan because I was following him on my other IG account that I had to abandon because it just got too busy, and over to my new IG account. So Alan, I just started following you about 5 minutes when Seb started talking about how much you rock, and I thought, oh no, I didn't. I forgot to follow him on my new account. So I'm now following Alan, and I do recall from following him in the past. He just puts up great content. Mm-hmm. And not only is it great content, it doesn't matter how frequently he posts. He just comes across as a straight up solid dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got lots of podcasts out and very, very interesting to kind of dive into his story. And he's been very open with his journey to mental health, following his service, those types of things. My hope is to get him on the collective here, getting him on one of our chats. It isn't going to be a problem because we were supposed to Zoom chat this week anyways. And so I'm going to have a chat with him, ascertain some details in relation to a project we're working on, and then maybe try to get him on to join us. That would be great.
Fantastic. That'd be outstanding. Absolutely. And I just followed him right now. So dang.
I love talking to cool people.
Awesome. Yeah, right? Man. He is a savage.
Can you just repeat his Instagram for
I got it here. It's Alan Shabiro JJ. So ALANSHEBARO JJ.
Shibero, common spelling, Matt. Come on. You're the smartest of all of us.
Come on, man.
You're the only officer here, man.
Get with the program.
the scientist over there.
Do they not teach you how to spell in the MPs? I mean, you got to write speeding tickets, so spell the dude's name right.
You only get the red crayons.
So we still have some questions from yesterday. If you guys want to jump into those real quick, and then we can either get onto other stuff. I'll see how long these questions take, because these are some good questions. So I want to, here we go. Boom. Interested in what your thoughts would be. A few years back, a high-ranked purse stated the difference between reg members and CAN Softcom purse is that they master the basics. And I've said this previously before in terms of skill set, in terms of like, because the reason I stated it was that the Special Forces guys I know versus Reg Force guys I know, it's not that they're better at shooting, or it's not that they're better at running or better at a particular skill set. It's that they've mastered the basics of those things, which allows them to stack stuff on top of it. If that makes sense. But any thoughts on that from any of the peanut gathering?
Why don't we start with the guy that was a soft guy?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll give it a crack. I'll make an effort. I would disagree with the comment.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm pushing back hard, and I'm not saying, oh, that's so wrong. What I am saying, and it's in line with what you just said as well, Chance, is, yeah, they master the basics, and they are better shots than you are, and they are better runners than you are, and they are better at everything than you are, because that's what you got to be there. You got to be better than where you just came from. And so it doesn't matter whether you were infantry or you were artillery, whatever. It doesn't matter what you were. Whatever you were as a regular force member, you're about to become better, because that's what you have to do. You have to get better than what you were. So you will run faster, you will run further, you will shoot better. But those are just things. Those are just skills. That's just improving your talent, if you will. But that's not how I see the biggest difference between Reg Force members and CAN Softcom or Special Operations. It all boils down to this. What you need to master is your mind, your mindset. You got to master your mind, because the machine, your body, that'll do what you tell it to do. And until you start recruiting your mindset to make you do things that you never thought were possible, you ain't in Special Operations. You can run as fast as you want in Special Operations, but until you let your mind start running the game, until that happens, you ain't in Special Operations. It's your mindset that makes the huge difference between being a regular force member and a Special Operations member. That's just my first thought.
That's a great point. Well, Seb, you have a interesting perspective on this too, because the ERT is pulled from the regular officers, right? So, or not pulled, they are selected through obviously rigorous training and all that stuff. But what are your thoughts on the difference between, I mean, even Reg Force members to CAN Softcom, or regular officers to the ERT?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Shaun might as well mic dropped, right? I mean, he's nailed it. I would say that skill set is a symptomology of an underlying condition, which is seeking excellence, but also having the coachability of being able to learn all those things. So a lot of people, yes, you can teach people to do certain things, but the learning curve is so steep in a CANSOF and in any special operation, whether it's police or military, as long as they have a professional team. You're gonna need to have the people that can keep up from an intellectual standpoint, as well as from a physical standpoint and a mindset standpoint. So all those three things, this trifecta has to work together in order to make them successful. So it's an oversimplification to say that they master the basic. Mastering the basics is actually a byproduct of who they are as operators. If you don't have that by way of selection, if you don't have that by way of eliminating those that don't have the tools to get there, then your pool is a lot shallower. So in principle, yes, this is a symptom of what, but if you are somebody that's looking into this, you need to be looking internally. And it's quite simple. Do I have everything it takes to make it at the highest level? If the answer is yes, and if you base that answer upon either an experiences that you've had, or the fact that you'll never quit, but you're also very coachable and you have all those things, then this might be the avenue for you. Aside from that, not for everyone at all.
That goes without saying, I think. It really is. It's a set apart. Corey, got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a few points, and not from specific experience being special forces. That's not my background, but spending some time in Blackwater, working with ex-assaulters, getting some feedback from Delta Force members that were on the range, consulting for certain techniques that we were learning, and then talking to friends that are on the team in the squadrons. I think the points to point out there, what separates somebody from CANSOFCOM, they're the consummate professional. Any soldier can be a professional, but that's essentially a necessity, a skill of their job, is that they have to always be focusing where their feet are at, getting really good at one thing. They have a specialization. That's what they do in a specific area. The squadrons are basically broken down into specific niches. They have in the teams members with specializations, and that pursuit of perfection is obvious in their craft. They're silent professionals who are always seeking self-improvement. You can just tell by being around them the attitudes they have, and that's been stated too from members that I've had that have gone through their assaulter course. Those tips that they've brought forward afterwards that they found that were passed on to them is it's a complete change or a mindset shift where they're focusing where their feet are at. They're being smooth and really consistent at improving themselves. It's always those silent actions speaking for themselves. So that's really, I think, things to key in on. And that's what's really separates them apart, is how they specialize in those key areas, and that mindset, that mentality of mastering fear and getting over the concept of doing extraordinary things under extraordinary circumstances becomes a normality. So I think those are key things that kind of just come out of that job and CANSOFCOM.
Yeah, makes sense. Any other further points on that?
I would like to add a little bit more to that. Not that nothing was. It's not that anything was missed. It's just that both Seb and Corey raised points that make me think a little bit more, and they're both right. Everything that they said is right, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And it's what Corey was talking about there, how he had the opportunity to be close to some Delta folks or some special operators. And that's a really important comment, because if you've never been at that tip of the spear, and I was fortunate that I was in JTF2, and I was fortunate that I also worked alongside of Delta, being able to be that or be around that helps you understand what that means, what it is, how the mastery of things is a level that you could have never comprehended when you're a member of the regular forces. So I was lucky that I was able to experience that. Now, let's say that you never get to be in those units or never get to be an active member of CANSOFCOM. Well, like Corey just said, find a way to be around those people. Find a way. And one of the ways that you can be around them is actually at Operation Pegasus Jump, based on the T-shirt that Corey is wearing. At least when I looked at him about a minute ago, he was still wearing it. I can't see him right now, so maybe he's done a fast change. I was too busy focused on that new tattoo he's got on his arm.
Yeah,
so maybe that was a bit distracting. So
yeah, it's still coming through.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure you're still feeling it. But what I will say is this: Corey and Seb are right on the money. And don't think this. Don't ever let this enter into your mindset. I'll never be JTF2, and therefore I'm never going to try to be in JTF2. You don't ever have to believe you'll ever be in it, but you can still keep trying in your mind. You can align yourself with people who are awesome. You can put yourself in a position where you're surrounded by people who will elevate your game, where you can look into the future and think, I'm going to strive for something bigger than I've ever strived for before. So you may never be in special operations, but you can be around special operators that are going to make you drive harder forward.
Yeah, exactly. We have strove to influence that through our brand. And for those that we've had the opportunity to work with or just be alongside with, jumping out of planes or grabbing a beer, that's the exact same thing that we emulate. So trying to be that constant professional in whatever your field is, you can take those lessons learned from those other soldiers. And being a soldier, it's always the perfection of trying to achieve excellence. So right on the money there, what Shaun said.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. Like Op Pegasus Jump, I don't think I've heard the depth of conversation that we had at Operation Pegasus Jump. It was insane. Every conversation was really impactful and thought out, and it wasn't a lot of just surface. Oh yeah, how was that? How was that? Awesome, awesome, awesome. It was everybody was there, and everybody was like present. Let me put it that way. So their answers were very present, and like it was just such a great experience. I can't. If you're not going, you should be. That's all I got.
For me, once I stepped through that gate, it was the most calm I've ever felt for years. It was like, you're in the right place at the right time. It was just a vacation from the mind, essentially, with like-minded individuals and being able to shut off the day-to-day issues you deal with and focus on something pretty badass, like throwing yourself out of a plane and getting to hang out with those that you've looked up to for years and touching bases with old mentors like Rob and Tim, and getting to meet Shaun finally in person and getting hooked on the hobby of roasting coffee thanks to Shaun.
Oh yeah, buddy, how's that treating you?
Awesome. I'm in competition now with another brand that's just started called Bruck Up Coffee, which I've just finished a cup of.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're veteran owned, and we got a taste of their coffee, and I've gotten really picky thanks to Arrowhead, getting the explanation of the different blends, and then talking to Shaun over the summer. I have not yet been able to achieve that blend that you've made, nor have been able to find it, but it comes.
Dude, you'll crush it. You'll surpass it. I know you will.
Yeah,
100%.
The perfect cup of coffee.
Oh, the perfect cup of coffee. That's something to aspire to, I think. Yeah, that would definitely be it.
It's a way to live life, by the way. And it's precisely what we're talking about right now. I've been pursuing the perfect cup of everything for a long time now. I'm pursuing the perfect cup of me, actually. Like anything that I do, this podcasting thing that I'm now calling, I'm actually podcasting, which I couldn't freaking bear to say not too long ago. This podcasting thing, I'm pursuing perfection in that. I mean, that's just how I do things. I'm pursuing the perfect cup of coffee in podcasting. So, the 600 lives that I'll do this year, that's me pursuing excellence, trying to be better at something that I don't think I'm good at right now. I may never be good at it, but I'll be better in a year. And that's special operations mindset, man. That's not Shaun. That's what I was taught. And anyone can learn that. Anyone can accept that. Anyone can do that. I mean, I do believe that anyone can create the mindset to do that. I'm not saying you'll get the same outcomes. I'm not going to say that you're going to be the Chin Up Master 9000 by July. I'm just saying that you can set a mindset that is special operations focused and pursue excellence and get your own best outcome. I'm just saying.
So while you were saying, and we got this comment from Daniel, and I think it kind of flows right into it, is that for those who are afraid of being open to a point to attend, due to fear of not fitting or not being at the level of others might be, what would you tell them? So I would say that's why you want to be there. If you look up to someone and you had the opportunity to actually be around them and hang out and chat and talk and ask questions directly and shake hands and be in person. The opportunity is there. I'd be on that all day long. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd say you got to just pull the trigger if you're even considering it. It's something, if you're scared, obviously it's natural to have fear of going out of a perfectly good airplane, but it's the experience that you're going to miss out on. It's, what do they say? You either suffer regret or the pain of going through something, but that experience, that shared collective of going through something, like understanding the whole philosophy of how it works, getting out of an airplane and forcing the mind to overcome the fear of what the body is telling you, is just an incredible experience. And from a mental health perspective, it's a reset. It's a mind reset in a really safe and positive community. And then understanding afterwards how safe skydiving actually is. And I compare that to what we were doing last weekend, which is watching 1,000-pound Harleys going up on one wheel. That looks easy. It's obviously dangerous, but skydiving is nothing like that. It's so much safer. Like, there's so much more dangerous things on a day-to-day basis. If it's a fear of the actual jumping or being around a community, you just got to be there to understand where people's mindsets are. And it's all about positivity, helping out one another, and coming together under one canopy with the same intent of helping each other go through and share what we struggle through on a day-to-day basis and overcome those fears of irrational thoughts, like jumping out into the open, taking a leap of faith, and then having that safety net to take you down. That's really, there's a lot of analogies in there, and it's just a great environment. And you won't understand until you're there just how beneficial that experience is of being with like-minded individuals, pushing yourself through something that's physically and mentally challenging while overcoming issues you may face on a day-to-day basis. It's a giant reset, and it re-energizes you. For me, it's been through the whole year, and I'm super excited to see who might be coming through the door this summer, this new set, this new cadre of individuals, and those that are going to return. It's obviously something that's going to grow and continue to become bigger and bigger. And to miss out being a part of that, I think would be a huge disservice to yourself.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Seb, I had a question for you, actually, in regard to this, because you weren't able to jump. But what was your feelings on just being able to hang out there? Because that's an option as well, because you can actually sign up and just come and hang out. You don't have to actually jump if you don't want to. So,
for sure. Thoughts? Well, I'll start with addressing the question, just because I feel I have to. I mean, for me, there's nothing worth doing that's not scary. It's that simple. Like in life, if anything is worth doing, if anything has any meaning whatsoever, you should be uncomfortable about it. If it doesn't, there is a problem. And so having fear and anxiety or apprehension or whatever is absolutely normal. What you do with it is a decision. It's not an accident, right? And courage is not doing something because you have no fear. It's to do it despite the presence of fear. And so you have to be courageous in life as you have to be on operation or anywhere else. And from that, there will be amazing growth. And that's just a byproduct of having that kind of mindset. So for me, evidently, I love to be in the mix of things. I hated not being able to jump. And for me, it was obviously a physical impediment that I couldn't risk it, because if I did, it could be catastrophic. But just being there, I mean, and this speaks to synergy. It speaks to being surrounded by the right people, having the right mindset, and people pulling in the same direction, that positivity. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity. I'm talking about people that are getting after it and wanting to get better, and people that have struggled, and people that have faced adversity and overcame and over, years. And it was an absolutely incredible experience to be there at Pegasus and to see, even when we were reading the roll call, and oh man, what an amazing experience this was. And I was very, very fortunate to be there and be a part of it. Aside from that, you get to meet all the cool people that you're following and the people that you're interacting with, potentially collaborating with. Just a great place to be. As far as jumping out of airplane or do any of that stuff, for me, it comes down to one thing. Everything is a downgrade of the fear of death. Period. Get rid of that, and everything else is pretty much irrelevant, right? Get rid of that. And how do you do that? With legal override? With logical override. Essentially, death isn't the end of life. It is a part of life. It's happening. There is no denying that. It's happening. Some people will live to be 100. Others will live to be 7. There is nothing you can do, and being scared isn't going to change it. Swallow that, sleep on it, and don't forget. Memento mori. It's always there. It hovers everywhere, and it happens. But you're going to spend more time being afraid than spend time living. Spend your time living. Die living, so to speak, And I'm not suggesting that, jumping out of aircraft isn't safe or anything like that. And there's contingencies and all this good stuff. But at the end of the day, everything and every fear in life is a step down the fear of death. Adopt that, or make peace with that, and see your life change very, very dramatically.
Yeah. Shaun, you got anything to add on?
I do. Just a little bit. All good points, boys. Don't disagree with any of them, 100%. So I understand the root of the question. And as I see it, it is that standard issue. As I read it, it's kind of like the imposter syndrome routine. As Daniel is writing this, what I interpret it as is he's going to feel like he's not going to fit in for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what it is, too tall, too short, too big, too small, too this, too that, whatever. Something that makes a person feel like they're not going to fit in. Do you know who has imposter syndrome? Me. I mean, there's no way I should be stepping onto that DZ feeling like I don't fit in. And yet, sometimes I do, because that's just who I am, man. Like, it's not that I doubt myself. I start thinking about what I'm about to step into, and I might feel like I'm not either qualified or I don't belong there, or who am I to step onto this DZ, or whatever the case is. Whatever my little monkey brain tells me that has been telling me things all my life, I just have to shut that grid down. I just have to crush that little internal dialogue and step onto the DZ, whether I feel like I fit in or not. So if I feel like I am not going to fit in, I still freaking put my foot down and get after it. And in pretty short order, which is totally normal for me, I'll start looking around thinking, yeah, I belong here. And actually, that dude's never jumped before, and I've got 300 odd jumps. What am I doing? Why am I even thinking that I don't belong here? And so it's the lie that you tell yourself before you even get up in the morning. Just get up, own it, step on it, and get after it. And so that would be my point to Daniel. Don't even sweat what you're thinking in your peanut. Yeah. Just go do it. And here's why you need to do it, as it has already been said, but I will reiterate it. To me, it's not about the jumping. The jumping is actually just the platform of the vehicle that gets you to think about a lot of things. But as you're getting ready to climb onto that platform and start thinking about things, you're surrounded by people who've already done a lot of thinking. And they've already been in that moment many times, and they've actually learned a thing or two. And so if you're struggling or feeling like you're not going to fit in, or you're scared that you might not jump or whatever, just look to the dude to your left and right and know that they've figured it out, and know that they've got an answer for you. So you'll be all right. Don't sweat it. Just come out. The rest takes care of itself.
Great. If I could add something here,
Yeah.
Chance. So one of the, I love that you brought the imposter syndrome, Shaun, because that's actually a big part of one of my leadership courses now. And I've done a ton of peer-reviewed academic paper reading and going down that drain to try to find out who's afflicted by this. And it was very, very interesting to see that the majority of people that are deeply affected with imposter syndrome are people that generally seek excellence, that do well in whatever field they're in. They're the first ones to feel that way, because those that live a lie, they have it figured out, so there's no issues with them. It's everybody else is that deflection that goes all around. So Shaun, what you said is absolutely accurate. The only way to overcome it is to logically override it, and you override it with the truth. You override the lie of the emotional response that you are getting with the truth, and that is, I deserve to be here as much as the next person next to me. I'm bringing this to the game. I'm bringing some positive, energy for everybody to feed off. Even if you don't have something to technically contribute to the cause, you're bringing something. And you need to not only convince yourself of that, but you need to know that that is the case, so that you may take some steps that sometimes you're going to be uncomfortable with. Now, here's how this works. Once you start shining the light on an area that you have a problem with, such as imposter syndrome, you're spotlighting it now, right? And once you do that, you're magnifying the risk. You're magnifying the risk to an unmanageable level, and now it just feeds onto itself. Imagine that. You think you're an imposter, and then you're magnifying the risk, and then you become more of an imposter, and then it just goes on, and it's a freaking self-licking ice cream cone, right? Like, and as I can remember who referred to ice cream cones like this, but it's the best description, really. And so having the ability to simply put forth the things that you're bringing to the table, even if it's just a positive attitude and a friendliness and a will to want to be there and connect with people, that is plenty. That is all you need.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Now we have some follow-up on this from Daniel. Actually, he's watching right now. So he says, to be more precise, that question was in reference to me. I feel so due to being in the infancy period of my healing. And I would say to that that is the perfect time to do it.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is, if you want to learn the skills and the
best
tools
Band-Aid ever.
and see it from from so many different angles and have so many different opportunities to be this is the perfect time to do it. Anybody else want to add on to that?
You got to pull that trigger and just do it. Like Shaun had said, rip the Band-Aid off. And I would book right now as we're talking about it, because it's really not easy to express in words, to quantify the benefits of getting out there. You just got to do it. You got to be there and experience it yourself to really understand, and you'll still process it after all is said and done. And after you've returned home, it'll still be something that's a benefit that still quantifies afterwards. But being in the infancy period of healing, everyone's in different stages, and it's really been motivational to see veterans I know that have really dealt with some heavy stuff, to see how they reignited their passion, to feel like a savage again, to awaken that inner desire, that inner warrior, and step out of that plane and take a leap of faith, literally and metaphorically, and get themselves in the right mind space, and also to check in when they needed help. They were it was a completely safe, judgment-free zone of just awesomeness, development, camaraderie, and doing cool shit with amazing people. It was just something that you couldn't quantify in just mere words. You have to be there to experience and understand the benefits.
I'd also like to add one more thing to what Corey just said, and he's right on the money. And the reason that a person, Daniel, the reason that you would need to pull the trigger on registering today is due to this. If you've been following any of us, any of the four of us, or any characters that are similar to us, I like following cool people, man. I like following people who get after it. I like following people who inspire me. Actually, what I like following the most is people who I'm accountable to. And I've talked about this in the past, that one of the great things about the military is it holds you accountable. And then when you get out of the military, no one's holding you accountable, because that's not how the world works outside of service. If you're in service, first responder, law enforcement, or military, you're held accountable. The moment that you leave those things, say goodbye to accountability. And if you're not surrounded by accountability, then all of a sudden you start losing your accountability zone. And so, man, if anyone follows me, whenever that person hits me up with a DM and I get back to them, usually what they'll say is like, wow, man, thanks for getting back to me. I didn't think you would talk to me. I'm like, what? What are you even talking about? Of course I'm going to do that. And here's what runs through my head, because I'm going to hold you accountable. And so if you want to hit me up with any question, I'll try to give you my best answer. But then now we're doing homework. I'm holding you accountable. And that's how Operation Pegasus Jumps works. If you follow me and you're holding yourself a little accountable, I'll guarantee you this money back guarantee, because I'm not investing any money. When I shake your hand on the DZ and look you in the eye, that level of accountability shifts, because now I'm a real person and you're a real person, and I'm real time holding you accountable as a real thing. And it's different. Being accountable digitally and then being accountable to the person who's real, those things are different, man. Like when I shook Corey's hand for the first time and looked him in the eye, here's what I thought. Not only is that dude digitally cool, he's real cool. And I know that the things that I do and the things that he does holds both of us accountable. There's just a different level of accountability when you meet the person in real rather than in digital. So if you want to move your needle, start preparing digitally to get better, but plan on getting a whole lot better in the real world when you shake some of the hands that are going to be there.
Yeah. Could not agree more. Yeah. So there are some other comments and guests from Winterstorm 427 also bring in some more very specific heat. Do it simply because you're scared, because it means you're not comfortable and probably learning. And I don't choose to get hit by a car, but I do choose to jump out of a plane. The control I have is deciding when to face death and to smile while doing it. That is 100% accurate in my view. Anybody got any comments on those two?
Yeah, I think that's the attitude right before jumping. The old handshakes, the high fives, the fist bumps. That's that attitude, the positivity that goes through everyone, acknowledging that we wish everyone a safe jump every time. But yeah, there is a element of risk in everything you do in life, but you face that with a smile head on. You acknowledge the steps required to take. You look at the frame, you exit appropriately, put your feet where they should be, your arms and hands follow. You look at your jump master, and then you let go and they tell you, and things are generally going to go a lot better than they would be if you just jump out head first. So it's always great to follow certain steps from experience.
Yeah, well, I think the whole reason that I'm known as a Big Bird, well, part of the reason I'm known as Big Bird is I tried to fly back into the plane, so it did not work. The parachute worked, but
I've got a funny story on that. This straight up, no joke. Last night, I've said it before. If I do a live chat, like I'll do a live chat on my IG as I did this morning, and then I will watch it for a second time sometime today, because I try to learn how to do it better. So my homework consists of 2 1-hour live chats plus 2 1-hour live chat reviews. So I'm in for 4 hours, baby, of video time. And I learn a lot on my second review. So last night I am watching the live chat from the-collective.ca's yesterday. And as I'm watching it, it's actually, this is funny. It was the exact moment as I'm down in the home theater, the door opens and Keegan steps through, my youngest son, who is going to be joining me at Operation Pegasus Jump this summer. He did 2 jumps last year, and he's going to try to crack off 23 jumps this summer at camp. He wants to get 25 this year, which is rad. So he cracks open the door just as I'm watching the video from yesterday's live. And it's the moment just before I start chirping about Dorito bag slippers. Now, if no one's gone and listened to that live chat yesterday, it's not that I go on a rant, because I'm not ranting. I'm not angry. I'm not frustrated. I'm not just being a goof. I'm just saying that, if you swing your legs out and you put your feet into two Dorito bags and now you're wearing Dorito bag slippers, dude, things went sideways. Start cleaning up your room, get with the program, start heading towards Operation Pegasus Jump. Yeah. So that's the point in the video where he steps in and he's watching this and he's like, hey, Dad, this is the first time that I've ever seen you interact with other people like we are right now. And he sits down and he starts watching it and he says, wow, this is really cool. Like my friends would enjoy watching this. And I said, we'll get him watching. And as he watched some more, he realized that, we're doing our interaction and we're chirping and having fun. And he said, do you know what I really enjoyed about Operation Pegasus Jump is how cool everyone is and how you all get along so well and how it's kind of like hanging out at summer camp. And he's right. So, he doesn't watch my YouTube or Instagram live chat stuff. Like neither of my family doesn't, because, we're busy and I'm doing my thing. They're doing their thing and all of that good stuff. But this was the first time that he sat down and paid attention and thought, it's cool what you guys are doing. And he was part of that cool gang, man. Mm-hmm. And I could see it in his eyes. He felt like part of the Fonzie gang, And I think that's an important aspect of, it doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, he was 17 when he jumped. And so it's not about your age. It's not about your experience. It's not about how tall or not you are. It's about what you're going to get from the camp. So then he sees Chance's name, Big Bird, on the screen last night. And he said, oh, look at that call sign, Big Bird. Oh, yeah, that's right. And he starts talking about, remember when he got out of the plane, he was trying to fly back into the plane? And I said, yeah, do you know who gave him that nickname? That's right. I did. Big Bird, baby. And you know what? And I said to Keegan, you know what, son? That's a legit call sign, because not only did he earn it, it's awesome. And he's owning it. And that's what guys do. Mm-hmm. You get a call sign based on what you deliver on the regular. And sometimes, like, I've been called names, call sign names that ain't great, but that's what I was delivering at the time. And so, over the years, your call signs change. And so, I'm just saying that, maybe one day you won't be Big Bird. But for now, it's a rad name, but it's an earned name. Yep. It's not a self-created name that you're gonna try to live up to in your own fantasy world. It's one that you earn, and it's one that has a certain amount of pride to it. And I think that's the main thing that I'm trying to put across. As my son watched all of that last night, he was proud to be even just remotely connected with the video he was watching. Mm-hmm. And it's pride, man. If you've never jumped out of a plane and it's been a long time since you've been proud of who you are, guess what? If you step onto that DZ within 10 minutes, you may not be proud of yourself immediately, but you'll be proud of the people that you're standing around with. Mm-hmm. And that's a good start. Mm-hmm. And in about a day, you're going to have done something that you'll start to feel pride like you've never felt in a long, long time. And it's refreshing. It's game-changing. And for some people, it's desperately needed. So go chase a little bit of pride.
Mm-hmm. See, now, it's moments like these that I wish Shaun didn't have a boom so that he could drop mics. Like, this is a pretty regular occurrence where he does these little and I'm done.
But these are things. These are things that are true, and we all know it. And 100%. And any of us could have said the exact same thing easily. Yep. It's just I've got the mic in front of me. When I swing it aside, one of you guys will say something that's more rad. It's just the way it is.
100%. There's this little, and it's gone instead of a ka-thunk. but it both worked. So
Dude,
we actually
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say when we did our week of recording, and Shaun will not attest to this, but we're facing each other and we're going on about certain things, right? Leadership or whatever the case may be. And I'm sitting there, we're doing a leadership bit, and Shaun initiates on this one because generally I started and then he went, and it was just kind of whatever. But it was monologue style. Like we did it one at a time. Shaun goes, I'm like, okay, there is nothing to add here. I am done. So, anyways,
I'll interject because I have to, because Seb just said something very nice, but I've got to say something nicer back to him. If it hadn't have been for Seb and that week of him creating an opportunity for me to speak to someone who I respected more than I respected myself, it was an important timeline for me, man. That moment of being with a dude who I thought was radder than I was, like I learned a lot in that week. And I'll tell you that the things that I've built off of that because of Seb, most of the things that I'm doing nowadays are because of that week. And so to my point, if I hadn't been around Seb, I wouldn't be in front of this microphone. And so if you're going to Operation Pegasus Jump this summer and you've never been in a microphone, or you've never got right with who you are, someone is going to be at that camp and they're going to get you right. And your life will change. You will be more rad by the end of that camp. Not just because you jumped out of a plane, which is pretty rad. But what's more rad is you're going to be more radder. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Could not agree more. And actually, this kind of falls in line. We've got another awesome comment here. It'll probably take us to the end of the show today, but to touch on what Seb said about lying to yourself, and have any of you ever realized that you had been telling yourself a large lie that you believed was true for a long time, and what did you do about it? The about it's just on a separate comment, but I think this is the point of growth, is that there's a point where you go, this doesn't work, or this isn't true, or I need to adjust something, and then you do that. And you work on it in the smallest way. I always say break it down into something extremely small. If you have an issue with, let's say, actually, you know what? I'm not going to use that. I'm going to give this to the board because I want to hear your guys' points on this before I jump into what I was thinking. But any thoughts on this from the gallery?
Well, yeah, we got a few thoughts, and I'll go right into the whole mission behind why we got started with Mad Hatter Industries, and this large lie that I told myself coming back from Afghanistan, being a combat veteran, and thinking that I was special, and the things that I was dealing with, those symptoms of PTSD and OSI. I thought I had a sense of entitlement, I guess. That was an attitude that I really had to adjust and pull my head out of my ass, and it took a while. And really started when I was probably on my first expedition in the Himalayas with True Patriot Love. We did 4 weeks climbing a few peaks and going through that physical journey of that mental and physical battle with like-minded veterans that had been injured, and then starting a business and realizing in business there's nothing special about you as a veteran owned business. It really doesn't matter in the business world. What matters is how you perform and the quality of the products and the service that you bring. There wasn't anything special about me. I think that's what was the lie that I had told myself, being in combat, thinking that I was special, having to deal with things that people deal with on a day-to-day basis. Those issues, the PTSD, the anxiety, the suicidal thoughts, the depressive episodes, those aren't things unique to myself, and it wasn't anything special. I really had to check and adjust my attitude. And it wasn't until we started helping others after losing a few friends to suicide, understanding that these were issues that I didn't face alone, and that thinking that dealing with it by myself would be something that would basically be something all right to not deal with or express or share with others was a huge disservice to others. In not sharing that I was going through similar issues, it really left me at a disservice in not being able to connect with like-minded individuals or helping others. And until I really started getting out there and talking about the issues that I've been through and working through in the designs that we do and in the people that we deal with in a day-to-day regular interaction, whether it be online or in person, that's really what changed things when I started addressing the issues that I faced and really about how we could help others. And that collective that started with those ideas with Operation Pegasus Jump and helping out in the day-to-day struggles of growing a business and helping others and working with others is really what changed things for me. So that lie of feeling special was really something that when I overcame it was really a huge moment for me for self-discovery, humbleness, and just recovery. And I think for any veteran listening there that's been through combat or otherwise, or just been in the forces and not deployed, but still is dealing with those issues, it's really important to face it head on and address it professionally and not be entitled to the point where you think that you're unique and that you can suffer through this on your own. Getting the help and working with others and working on yourself, that professional development is really how you'll grow and help others when you can share your story.
Yeah, 100%. We actually, Shaun and I talked about this the other. I can't remember which live we did it on. What I used to think you think you're good to go, right? You're like, oh yeah, I'm good to go. I know what I'm doing. This is fine. Everything's good. That's one of the biggest lies I think people tell themselves all the time is I'm good to go. I don't need to learn anymore. I don't need to get any farther. I don't need to strive anymore. You're good to go. And I did the exact same thing. The thing that I did about it was actually I started trying to help others where I thought I was good to go. And I was like, oh, I can help out. Wait a second. They're all better than I am at whatever I'm doing. Right. And I'm like, wait a second. And then by trying to help those around me, I realized where my issues were. And once I started realizing where my issues were, then I was like, oh, I guess I need to work on those. And I'm not as good to go as what I thought I was. Right. And then you have to work on it. And then it's a step by step thing. Seb or Shaun, you want to jump on this thought? Seb?
Yeah, I can. So for me, it was a conglomeration of kind of two different things, two different sort of base concepts that I was really, that my lies sort of lied into, and that was deflection, right? Like that somehow there were external factors responsible for the things that either made me sad or happy. Instead of focusing on the internal mechanisms that made me to draw certain things to myself, I was deflecting, like, oh, well, this didn't happen because of that and this and that and this other thing. So there is no ownership there over the things that were occurring and happening in my life. And I had to really, really learn to control absolutely everything in my direct sphere of influence, which is me internally. So you're not controlling the variables, obviously, but you can control yourself and your reaction to things. And so once I started taking responsibility for everything that happened in my life, bad, good, or otherwise, that deflection and that lie was over. And I was able to really have a somber look or a more humble look at my shortcomings, and we're able to identify them and we're able to work on them and continue. Because before that, you're kind of like at that unconscious incompetence stage where you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And that is a very dangerous place to be in any field of endeavor. You at least want to know what you don't know and who knows what you don't know, so that you're able to tap them on the shoulders and get some help if you need. Now, with that, there's also the other piece, which is, you had a very difficult or adversity-ridden life, or your circumstances, or by way of operational deployments, or whatever the case may be. Nobody will understand me because my circumstances are so special. Every 10 feet, there is somebody that can get you beat. I can guarantee it. Every 10 feet, there's somebody that has seen worse, that have been through worse, and it's not about invalidating how you feel. It's about gaining that perspective and really understanding that communicating with others will really bring this to light. It will bring the stories to light. And you are going to start feeling differently about how you're reacting to certain things. But you can't know that if you're locked in a box somewhere thinking that you're the only one that understands you. You have to. That is a giant lie that we tell ourselves. And I think coming out of that box and having those conversations really changes the way you look at yourself and others. Once you start getting yourself hierarchy, you know where you stand in the hierarchy of things, which is a natural state of affairs, it starts lowering your hormonal levels, and your stress goes down. Like, you essentially know where you fit in this whole picture. Your stress goes down. When your stress goes down, you are better at addressing the things that you need to be working on. That is, to me, was one of the biggest lies. And I'm glad at some point I caught up before it was too late.
Yeah. Shaun, you want to round us out here?
Yeah, I have a similar theme or similar story to both of you. And I'll say that I wouldn't say this is the largest lie that I've believed for a long time. I probably believe several lies. But the one that came to mind, which is precisely what the two of you were saying, is this. Like, my career trajectory reinforced the fact that I thought I was a badass. I mean, it just did. I mean, it's an outcome of what I was doing. And the harder you charge, the more you think you're a hard charger. The sharper you get, the more sharp you think you are. That's just natural. The outcome, the career path predicted my outcome in respect to my mindset, which was, I'm a badass. But then you leave the teams, which is what I did. And I went out onto Civilian Street as a civilian. And I knew I was still a badass, I guess. I still believed that I was a badass. But in context of the world around me, I was a nobody. Because they didn't know me, I didn't know them, and I hadn't started my second career, we'll say. And so as I stepped onto that new career, which I'm now my seventh, so I've had to iterate this every single time as a badass in my own little peanut. Every time I've stepped onto day one of that new career, it took me a couple of careers to then realize that, okay, I used to be a badass in that field. But this is a whole new field, baby. Now I'm trying to be a computer system engineer, or now I'm trying to be this, or now I'm trying to be that, or now whatever. Now I'm trying to be a podcaster. You can't step into day one of not wanting to talk into a microphone and tell yourself, whatever, I'm a badass. No, I'm a noob that knows nothing and literally sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, day one, you can't step in as a badass mindset if you're stinking up the place. You got to get real with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how you get real is you step onto the start line and look to your left and right and see who the badasses are that are standing on the start line with you. And if you're all new to the game, that stuff sorts itself out in pretty short order. But if there's talent on the start line, man, if you're paying attention, you should get a reality check of, oh my goodness, how wrong was I? How much was I lying to myself? You can't hope that you're going to be a badass on day one. You just got to look around and look for the badasses and then start following their lead. And so that was the largest lie that I told myself for some time, was somehow getting some form of excellence doesn't mean that you're excellent at life. Mm-hmm. It's a never-ending process of pursuing tier one in whatever you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I put a post out a little while ago. It was we aim for tomorrow, but we live in today, or we work in today. And that's I think that's what it is. You aim for tomorrow, make it better. And you got to put the work in today to make tomorrow better. You just keep doing that. So that's we're just about at time here. First off, before we go any further, Corey, Seb, thank you so much for joining us.
Where did the time go?
Is
that even an hour?
Right? Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
58:48, and we're counting. So that was some odd, again, bringing fire from the comments here. It's just fantastic. Great conversation. But Corey, Seb, thank you so much for being here. Awesome. This is just wicked conversation.
I appreciate the invite. It's my first, and I got to get up to speed on this collective. I've been looking at the website. the Instagram. I'm really impressed with the initiative put forward.
Dude, we're trying to get up to speed.
Yeah, we really are. But sorry, we cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I'm just really impressed. And again, following along that line of thought, if you stop growing, if you stop learning, if there's a ceasing of progression in terms of the mindset in growth, that's a decline. That's a slow death. That's not the attitude you want to have. You want to be going forward, constantly learning, seeking a pursuit of perfection and passion. That's really what the essence is, and ties in as well to our company mission, which is to help people find their passion, live their adventure. We want to be continuously seeking to learn and following things and developing. There's always a need to constantly learn and continue to strive to perfect things. It's always that passion that drives us.
Mm-hmm. Seb, you got any final thoughts?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, boys. I'm loving this. I'm loving what you guys are doing. I'm loving the quality of it, the image quality, the sound quality, the freaking fanciness of the entire setup. Hey, Big Bird really stepped it up here, and
100%.
You might need a tattoo of Big Bird.
I'm working on the image right now. Don't worry.
You go first.
Yeah.
No, I'm loving this,
Nice.
guys. Thank you so much for doing this. Loving this.
Awesome. Shaun, you got any final points before we shut her down?
No, this is precisely what I had in mind when I thought whatever we're going to do over here at the collective, it needs to look like this. And it needs to be with dudes like this. It just needs to be cool. It needs to be fun. I want to learn. I want others to learn. I've learned things today. I've had fun today. I totally dig it. I do hours and hours and hours of this every day if I could, when it's cool, like Fonzie. And this is cool, man. I love it. Thanks, boys.
Yeah, truly, it's been awesome. Great conversation and great questions from the gallery. We got lots more in the bank now, and we're gonna carry on tomorrow as we learn, build, and grow here at the collective. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. Chimo.